And as you can see, when price got to this level, it instantly reacted. What's up guys, welcome to another Hyve trading technical breakdown. In this video I'll be going over GBPCAD, as you can see on your screen, and what I wanted to do is take you through my thought process of how I was able to capture just over $200 on this trade. So what I'll be doing is I'll take you through the higher time frame analysis all the way down to the lower time frame, basically letting you know how I develop my directional bias using the higher time frame technical analysis, then dropping down to the lower time frame to develop and find my trading zone, all the way down to the 4-hour time frame, and then to the entry of the trade where I'm actually executing my trade and what I'm looking for on the lower time frames to confirm that this trade is actually a valid trade setup that I can take. So without wasting any more time guys, let's get into the video and we'll start off with the higher time frame analysis. Okay guys, so blank chart, nice and clean. What I'm gonna do is head over to the monthly time frame where I usually start in terms of trying to develop a directional bias. So what we can see right away for the past 5 months at least, we can see that GBPCAD has been in a downward direction. The trend towards the downside, the momentum is very strong. Now, I don't just use that as a way to actually decide what my directional bias is going to be. I try and look for other things as well, other clues that could point towards the market being heavily on the sell side. So what I saw is that we had this nice trend line like so on the monthly chart, and we can see that price had broken back here in the month of April. However, what I wasn't sure was if price was going to bounce off of this key level of 1.6, and we can see that there was structure, there was a bit of support on this when you look left. So I was waiting for price to actually break through this low as well as this low here in order for me to actually be convinced that price will carry on down and the momentum to the downside will continue to go downwards. So if we take just this line right here, we can see that in the month of June, structure was broken to the downside. Now this confirmed for me and validated that price in terms of GBPCAD was going to keep heading to the downside. So if we go over to the weekly, I was trying to look for potential zones where I can start to anticipate a reversal into the direction of the trend. So one thing that I saw was a nice fair value gap right around this area as so I'm just gonna mark this up, weekly fair value gap. And basically one thing that I liked about this was that if we look left, sorry guys, I'm just gonna send this to the back. So if we look left, you can see there was a bit of support on this level as well. And remember, price was still around this area here at the time of me analyzing this. We hadn't gotten these 2 candles yet. Price had just broken to the downside. There was heavy momentum. We've seen the confluences, as I mentioned earlier, on the monthly time frame. So what I was looking for was a nice little reversal zone, as I mentioned. And you can see that this fair value gap kind of lines up with this resistance right here. But I didn't mark up my resistance just yet, because I like doing my resistance more on the lower time frame, but I use the higher time frame just to get a nice zone that I could start to build more confluences and look for other clues to help me identify that this is a good area to actually get in for a sell. So if we carry on down to the daily, on the daily time frame, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a vertical line so that you can understand where price was at the time of me marking up the charts. So I'll put this vertical line here, and you can see on the 26th of July, none of this had formed yet. So I've drawn my fair value gap. I also saw that there was another fair value gap on the daily right here. So I'm just going to mark that up as my daily fair value gap. And I was anticipating that, okay, well, price is still around this level. I know that eventually it will go into my kill zone, which is my fair value gap zones. And now I'm starting to get really interested in looking for other things that can add to my directional bias, because you have to remember, at any time this trade could just turn around and reverse on us, and that's not what we're looking for. We're trying to get more confluence in order to be more confident in our trades, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to manage is fear and greed, right? So in order to manage your fear, you need to be confident in your trades. And how do you get more confident? By basically adding more confluence. Of course, you don't want to be silly and add too many confluences, right? But you want to add just enough confluence to know that, okay, well, price should start reacting around the zone. And that's what we're getting by drawing these two zones on the weekly and on the daily. So not only did I see that, so at this point I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to draw a little Fibonacci and start to see that we've got the 50% around this area. So from this point onwards, I'm getting curious, right? So that's just a Fibonacci tool, just to know that I'm basically getting price at a discount. So moving on. When we drop down to the 4 hourly, this is where it started to get interesting, because I'm starting to see a few things. Actually, before we drop down to the 4 hourly, I'll take you guys back to the daily, because there was something that I saw which added to that zone. And at that point, this is where I'm like, okay, this is the level that I'm trying to get in at. So what did I see? Basically, if you look at this candle right here, this is a VSA confirmation 2-bar candle formation, right? So basically, what happened after this VSA signal was formed was that price proceeded to push. We saw this massive bullish movement right up through these tops right here. And what happened after this, or what this candle did, was it induced buyers into the market. And then what happened? We saw price push further down, breaking this low. So for me, that was just clear manipulation from smart money, especially when you bring in VSA. So what I like to do is I like to mark up these manipulation zones, because I know that when price revisits this area, there's going to be something interesting happening here. So I just marked that up like that. Now, what do we see? Price broke through, confirmed that it's still heading towards the downside. Now, if you look closely, you can see that this manipulation zone fits in beautifully with this weekly fair value gap and the daily fair value gap, which is a smaller gray box. So for me, this was like, okay, well, perfect. I can get into a trade when market reaches this area, and I can also get into another trade when market gets to this area. But the trade that we're analyzing was this trade right here. I did get into another setup after this particular trade that we're discussing right now, but it was around this level. I'm not going to go over that trade because it was more or less similar setup to this one. So we're going to keep the focus on this one. But for me, these zones here, this kill zone here, not down here, right here and right here, where everything meets and everything aligns, that is where I'm trying to get in. You know, I'm not trying to take massive moves to the downside. I just know that when price gets to this point, we're going to get some form of reversal intraday. So this is why I head on down to the 15-minute time frame to look for entries and look for extra confluence and extra market structure moves that could basically confirm an entry to the downside. But for now, let's stick to the higher time frames before we head down to the lower time frame for the entry. So once again, so price was pulling up to this point, went down to the 4-hour lead time frame, and what I did was I marked up a bat pattern. Now a bat pattern is an harmonic pattern. I like using harmonics. I don't necessarily need an harmonic pattern for me to actually take a trade, but what I like to see, especially when price was down here, is I like to see more reasons as to why price could potentially pull up into my zone. So the bat pattern that I saw was something like this right here, 618 and then 1.161, somewhere around this level right here. So already this piqued my interest because I'm like, well, we've got multiple zones confirming in that area. We've got a nice bearish harmonic pattern that also completes in that area. And as you can see, when price got to this level, it instantly reacted. But there were things that occurred before I basically got involved with this trade. But as you can see, guys, I'm looking for multiple things to confirm my entry in my kill zones, starting with the higher time frame, looking for momentum in order for me to determine a directional bias, then heading down to the weekly, daily, looking for zones, then the 4-hourly, I'm looking for certain price movements to also confirm that price should give me a trading opportunity when it gets to a certain point in my trading zone, right? Okay, so here we've got the 4-hour back pattern. We also had other things like resistance, which I can show you. One way that I like to get my resistance is I like to turn my candlestick bars into line chart, right? Because what this does is I can look for points in this zone where price had multiple touches, right? So you can see before price came in here, right around this level right here, we had we had multiple touches right here. So I'll just mark this up like so. 4-hour resistance, and then I think we have another one right around this area. Like so. Yep, because we had this touch right here, and then we had one more around this area about here. So this, now if we take that back to the candle, now the reason what I'm looking at is basically areas where price came and closed, not just touched but closed. That's why I used the line chart to basically show me where candles are touched in the past. And as you can see, we had nice rejection here, respect, and then it took a massive momentum to break, and then we had more respect, more touches around this area. And as you would see, moving closer to when price approached this level, we had price respecting this area as well. So at this point, I'm like, I have more than enough confluence to basically get involved into a trade. So the first touch into the zone where the weekly fair value gap and the daily manipulated zone meets, so which is the blue box and the gray box, was around this level, which was perfect because the harmonic pattern completed right there. But that wasn't the reason why I entered, because I still needed, because you have to remember, when price was approaching this level, it's approaching with enough momentum. So I'm still waiting for confirmation at this point. Yes, it's hit my kill zone, but what I'm looking for is confluence to tell me that, you know what, price is actually reversing and going in the opposite direction. So what I did was I took a trend line like so, and you can see first we got this engulfing, and this is on the 15-minute, by the way. And also you can see how high into the RSI it was. You know, I don't like to say overbought, but in this case it was overbought considering all the confluence we've gone through. But also, if you look at it as momentum, you can see price came in and then turned around, and by the time it had broken my trend line, you can see that it was, you know, the momentum was way down here, signaling to me that there's a potential downtrend about to begin. So we had those multiple confirmations with the break of the trend line, and then we had this reversal which tested. And at this point, when I saw a bearish candle after the test, I was like, okay, this is definitely an entry. So how do you enter the trade? You could enter the trade and just put stop loss above this level. You could shoot for either this low right here, which will give you a 1.6 risk to reward, or you could shoot for somewhere around this level here, because you can see there was a lot of activity going on here, and you would have banked a nice 2-to-1 risk reward. So that was the trade, guys. That was the entry. If you like this video, let me know what else you'd like to see from this channel. I'm trying to be more consistent with the uploads. The past couple months to a year has been super busy for me, which is why I haven't really uploaded too much, but I promise you will see more from me. There is going to be a lot more content dropping on this channel, so make sure you subscribe, make sure you like that, hit that like button. And yeah guys, this was the trade for me. This was one of 2 trades on this pair for me last week, and I had one more pair on, I think it was, yeah, on Euro GBP, which banked me additional $500. So in total last week I had about $1,000 profit. This one was $220 of it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one.